Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and hello to the rest of the Premier League. Bournemouth calling here. And, of course, we have recently had our fixture list produced. What do we make of it? Who are the tough games? What are the tough periods? Well, there's one man who I think is best to discuss this with. And, of course, you all recognise him. It is the one and only Matthew Harrison. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Craig. Yep, looking forward to this. So, yeah, let's get cracking.
Good. And I tell you what, it's nice to, even though the Euros are on, it's quite nice to get back into the swing of things with the Premier League and the fixture list being announced. It's exciting. So this show is going to consist of two parts. So the first part, we're going to have a look at some of the fixtures. But the second part, we are going to plot where the points are going to come from to get AFC Bournemouth into Europe. Well, you never know. Fingers crossed. Maybe we're thinking ahead, but we shall see. Please do leave the comments in the comments box. It's on the right-hand side. And, of course, do also make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Hey, I rhyme, don't I, Matt? You know, there you go. I shouldn't give up the day job just yet, should I, though?
No.
Well, I tell you what, let's get on with it. So, here we go. Now, of course, all the fixtures that we are going to discuss on this show are subject to change due to potential European involvement for the opposition or due to rearrangement for television coverage. And do remember, if AFC Bournemouth do get through to the latter parts of the FA Cup, hopefully we'll have an FA Cup run. Be nice, wouldn't it? Then there may also be some changes towards the end of the season as well. But should we get stuck into it, Matt?
Yeah, let's get going. Yeah.
So, of course, our first fixture was announced to be on Saturday the 17th of August 2024. And that game is against the Tricky Tree, so Nottingham Forest, at the City Ground. Matt, what did you make of this when it was announced as the first game?
Yeah, not surprised really. I didn't expect any of the new boys to be the opposition for the first game. Yeah, so I think this is a good one really to start off with. I think maybe at home might have been a bit better, but we should get something out of this game, I reckon.
The more I look at this and the more I consider it, the more I think actually this isn't a bad start. I know that when it was announced, I was like, that's a real anticlimax. But like you say, Matt, this is a game that we should be expecting to get something off Nottingham Forest. We expect to hopefully go up to the City Ground, beat them. We have got a good record against Nottingham Forest as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll get off to a decent start. And of course, the last two encounters at the City Ground, well, really the last three encounters at the City Ground have all been quite exciting, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure that Forest would be thinking the same, that it's a game that they should be able to get something out of. So it should be quite an interesting opener. But like I say, we do have a decent record up there of late. So yeah, we should definitely get something out of this one.
Yeah, definitely. I was hoping for Ipswich myself. I said to Benjamin Bloom, it's probably not what he wants. He said beggars can't be choosers. But at the same time, Forest isn't a bad start. That said, though, and this was something that was interesting that got brought up the other day, if we started the season against Manchester City or Chelsea or Arsenal, it might not have necessarily been the worst thing, because coming off the back of the Euros, if they've got a lot of players in Euro involvement in the latter stages, that may mean that some of the players are a little bit leggy, haven't had, a real summer break. What do you how do you respond to those?
Yeah, I mean, how many players are there in total? Do you know?
Wow. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I know that Manchester City, have got quite a few out there, as you'd expect. Arsenal, I think, are one of the heavily hit teams. So I kind of see that if we did play one of the big sides, maybe there could be that room for a shock result, considering the European Championships is on.
Yeah, potentially, but yeah, for me. You can only beat beat what's in front of you, can't you? No matter who's fielded by which side, So yeah, I don't look too much into that, to be honest with you.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
You can only beat
Well,
what's in front of you, can't you? And I mean, yeah, if there's key players out, that's always handy. But when you've got sides like City and Arsenal, and it can obviously affect them, but then they've always got another world class player to fill that void, haven't they? So
yeah.
it's a difficult one. But in terms of an opening fixture, I think this is a good one.
No, fair enough, fair enough. And to be honest, I don't disagree with you. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it, and I don't think there's one right or one wrong for this.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, everybody's chuffed with this as the following fixture. Eddie Howe returning to Dean Court for AFC Bournemouth's 125-year celebration as the first visitor. And of course, that means a quick return for Lloyd Kelly as well, who has gone to St James's Park. I'm chuffed with this.
Yes. It's it's one of those that's kind of written in the stars, I suppose. Really, isn't it? It's nice that Eddie will be back for that game, but he's not going to be worrying about Bournemouth's 125 years. Obviously, he's going to be fully focused as a professional that he is on getting the 3 points for Newcastle. So it's going to be a difficult game. But yeah, it's kind of nice in some respects that he'll be back for whatever is happening on that day. I don't think they've quite announced everything yet, have they? That's going to be happening, but
No.
apparently there's going to be some celebration, and it's kind of nice that Eddie and JT obviously will be here for that. But like I say, both managers, regardless of what's going on, will be just fully focused on trying to get the win for their side. So obviously it's more for the fans, isn't it? But as for the two sides, it's going to be business as normal, and yeah, both managers will be looking to add to their tallies, depending on obviously the outcome of the first game. But yeah, it's obviously for Lloyd Kelly, coming back with Newcastle. It's going to be strange, obviously, seeing him in a Newcastle shirt, but wish him all the best in terms of his time at Newcastle. Obviously, don't wish him the best when he's playing us, but I hope he does well there. He did well for us at Bournemouth. He saw out his contract, and I think it was always destined that he was going to sign for Newcastle. I mean, there was talk as early as the start of last season, wasn't there? And rumours that he might be signing for Newcastle, and as soon as the Newcastle name was mentioned, I think it was kind of it fitted, didn't it, that he would go back and work with Eddie, and I think he's going to be a massive asset for Eddie, really, and I think Eddie will get the real best of him, best out of him.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. And this is one that's written in the stars, really. Of course, it says the 24th of August at 3 p.m. there. I personally think that this may be altered for television coverage, be it like last season, that it was a little bit later in the day. I think it was the 5:30 kickoff, wasn't it? Yeah, it
I
was.
think we had both our home games since Eddie's been Newcastle manager. Well, since we've been back in the Premier League, and that's I think they've both been 5:30, haven't they?
I think you're right, actually. Yeah, I
Yeah, it'd
think
be
you're right.
interesting to see what happens there. I think you're right. I think that it might get selected for TV coverage. But yeah, whatever happens, it's going to be a Getting like the previous games against Newcastle recently.
Yeah, definitely. And I do feel sorry for the Newcastle fans if that does happen, because I know that that trip back to Newcastle is going to be an absolute nightmare at
Yes.
5:30.
Yeah.
So yeah, but let's be honest. Well, it's a conversation for another day. But Sky don't really care about the fans, do they? Let's be honest. So let's move on, and of course we have our friends down the M27 back. The South Coast Derby has returned. So Saints are visiting Dean Court on the 28th of September at 3 p.m. Again, I think that's probably going to be moved. But we go to St Mary's on the 15th of February at 3 p.m. And of course, Adam Milana there is back at Southampton. He had a great first spell, didn't he, with them? But
Mm.
um, you excited to have this derby back?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I've been privileged to be at St Mary's when we've won and drawn before, and
Mhm.
it's always a great atmosphere. It's always it's definitely one that you first look for when the fixtures come out, and I think we've got a very, very good chance again of taking points off of these guys next season.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I much prefer these guys coming up than Leeds. To be fair, it's a nice little away trip. It's only 27 odd miles down the road rather than going all the way up to Elland Road. So
Hmm.
yeah, and of course it's the local derby again. So yeah, definitely happy with this one. And yeah, we should with what we've got in terms of our squad, it's much stronger than since we last faced them, I think. And yeah, it'd be good to go to St Mary's again and get a win.
Definitely, definitely. And I think, in that playoff final, because I watched the duration of that, and it was very cagey, but Southampton, I think were the better side. They shaded it just a bit, Battles. Um, like you say, it's a much better journey. And to be honest, I don't hate them. There's no real hatred. There's a bit of banter there. There's a bit of, wanting to get the 6 points from them, which of course we will do. It's quite an easy place to get 6 points from nowadays, St Mary's, especially in the Premier League. But at the end of the day, I think, I'm delighted to see them back rather than Leeds. Who, let's be honest, a lot of Bournemouth fans aren't very fond of it, really, are we?
No.
No. Let's move on from Leeds before we get a load of abuse from their fans. And let's look a little bit further down the south coast and to Brighton. Now, this is a club I actually really, really like, to be honest, Brighton Hove Albion. But they visit Dean Court on the 23rd of November, 3 o'clock kickoff. And then we go to the Amex on the 25th of February for a 7:45 kickoff. That's a Tuesday night game, which I'm a bit naffed off about, to be perfectly honest. But what did you make of Brighton last season, Matt? Because of course, and we played them towards the end of the season. They were a little bit leggy, but I think they found a little bit of a second gear, didn't they? They were struggling. They played a lot of games, but they're a good club, of course, under a new manager now.
Yeah, obviously got a new manager in place, but in terms of last season, I think really, it's great to have European football and all, but
Yeah.
it can, unless you've got a really good depth of squad, it can obviously take its toll on you. And I think when we saw Brighton at the Vitality late last season, you could see that I think that the amount of games that the squad had been through, it kind of it didn't seem the normal Brighton to me. I mean, I know we beat them
Mhm.
convincingly, but it definitely wasn't one of Brighton's best performances of the season, was it? And
No.
so yeah, it does make you think about the whole Europe thing, whether you've seen it with other teams as well. The likes of even when Burnley were in the Europa League that year, it really did take an effect on their bread and butter with the Premier League. So it'd be interesting to see how they progress under this new manager. Obviously, after Potter and the last guy, I always forget his name.
Roberto De Zerbi.
That's him.
Yeah.
And obviously he took over from Potter and kind of continued what Potter had started and put his own touch on it. So it'd be interesting to see how this new manager does. Don't really know a lot about him, to be honest with you. So I can't really comment on the new appointment, but it's going to be an interesting one. And they're normally good battles with Brighton. And it's always nice to go to the Amex. It's a lovely stadium.
Yeah.
So yeah, bit of a tricky one for a Tuesday night for a lot of people that work, but it's a case of maybe slipping in a couple of holiday days somewhere and cracking on.
Yeah, exactly. I've got the sick day. That's another way around it, but don't take my word on that. The manager, of course, now is Fabian Hüsler, and of course, he's the first American manager since Jesse Marsh. Although he really isn't, because he moved from the US to Germany when 2 years old. So yeah, he's not really the first American manager since Jesse Marsh, but has managed a lot of teams, like second string teams like Bayern Munich, second string team, Hoffenheim. Of course, it's different setup over there. So it'll be quite interesting. And I think it kind of follows the path that they've always gone on, really, Brighton. But I tell you what, let's move away from the South Coast completely and let's look at the other promoted sides. So we have got Leicester City, of course, promoted to the Premier League as champions. There is some big question marks hanging over their heads, though. We go into the King Power on the 5th of October at 3 p.m. and then they come back to Dean Court for our final match of the season on the 25th of May at 3 p.m. And then, of course, Ipswich Town, fresh from that double promotion. We go to Portman Road firstly on the 7th of December, and they come to Dean Court on the 1st of April for a 7:45 kickoff. That's not going to please the Ipswich fans, is it?
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one. It's not the greatest places to get to, if memory serves me right, from Bournemouth. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky trip for them on a Tuesday. But yeah, in terms of Leicester, obviously they've appointed Steve Cooper, I believe, today.
Yes, they have. Yep.
So they've now got a manager in place, a manager that knows a bit about the Premier League. So be interesting to see how he does, and obviously what points deduction they get. I don't know too much about it, to be honest with you, but obviously hearing from Chris and that, it looks like they could be up for a 15-point deduction, possibly.
Yeah, to be honest, I could get on a right rant about this again, and I'm not going to. But I think Richard Masters is a crook, considering Leicester have just come up, and they're being hit, but Man City seem to be getting away with it. I know Mark McAdam, though. Do watch back that video where we talked to Mark McAdam about PSR, and there is some explanation in that from Mark, which does make more sense. Still think it's wrong. Still deep down, I think it's wrong. But hey ho, what am I to say? What am I to say? But yeah, that is when we play Leicester, and I think Ipswich. It'll be an interesting season for them. I can give my predictions on Ipswich at a later point and where I think they'll finish. Yeah, of course, transfer window's just opened. But when do the Cherries face the Big Six? So we was just talking about Manchester City. We welcome Manchester City to Dean Court on the 2nd of November for a 3:00 kickoff. Then we go to the Etihad on the 18th of May, kickoff to be continued at the moment. So we shall find out when that is. Arsenal, 19th of October at 3 p.m. at Dean Court. We're going to the Emirates, the 3rd of May, 3 p.m. Again, one of the final games of the season. Liverpool, always a side for some reason, Matt. This really bugs me. A side that we always seem to get really early on in the season. Not so early this time around. 21st of September at 3 p.m. It was always a bloody August game, but we welcomed them at a similar time as we've always seemed to play them at Dean Court on the 1st of February at 3 p.m. I think there's something in that. Spurs, we're going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I still call it White Hart Lane on the 3rd of December. Kickoff of 7:45. Should be interesting, actually. Going to be a nice stadium to visit at that sort of time. And of course, we welcome them back on the 8th of March at 3 p.m. Manchester United should have done the double over them last season. We didn't, thanks to a referee. Old Trafford, 21st of December, 3 o'clock kickoff. If we remember correctly, similar sort of time last season. We know what happened then. And then we welcome them to Dean Court on the 26th of April at 3 p.m. And then finally, last but not least, free spending Chelsea, or not so free spending Chelsea this year. They're coming to Dean Court on the 14th of September at 3 p.m. and Stamford Bridge on the 15th of January at 7:45 p.m. Which leads me on to, wasn't that a similar sort of time to when we thrashed Chelsea up there?
Date wise,
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't want to say. I
Fair
know
enough.
Was it around that date?
I seem to think so, but somebody in the comments or somebody after we've done this video can turn around and tell me it's otherwise. I'll probably look at it
I
afterwards
do
and go, yeah, I
remember.
was completely
I
off
do.
there.
I do remember that the 4-0 home win being around sort of winter time.
Yes. That was around, but Dan Gosling scored the goal. I'm sure that was the one I'm referring to because it was just after New Year, or was it before New Year? Hey, who cares? We seem to always have
Really?
we did have a good record at Chelsea, but yeah, hopefully we can get better of them. We'll come on to where we're going to get the points from because, of course, we're going to predict how AFC Bournemouth are going to get into Europe. Which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing, as we've already mentioned with Brighton struggling. But I tell you what, we can't forget about somebody else who's a former manager managing in the Premier League, and it's this man, the big bad Wolves, Gary O'Neill. Of course, he's worshipped up at Molineux by quite a few. They did run out of steam last season, though, towards the end. That's fair to say. Their fans said it. When I was speaking today from Talking Wolves, they admitted themselves that they were struggling. We're going to Molineux on the 30th of November for a 3 o'clock kickoff. And we're welcoming them to Dean Court on the 22nd of February at 3 p.m. Matt, just very quickly on Wolves, they've got to spend quite a bit, I personally think, because even though they did very well and Gary did, tremendous with Wolverhampton Wanderers last season and getting to where they were, they didn't have that strength in depth, and that showed towards the end, didn't it?
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah, I mean, even Gary himself, I think, admitted at one point that the depth wasn't there. At one point, didn't they have no fit strikers? Was it something like that?
Yeah,
Was
you're
it?
correct. Yeah.
Then so definitely need to invest in the squad this season. Be interesting to see who they bring in. But
Yeah.
when you look at it, this is the kind of team we should be picking up points from. I believe personally. I mean, for me, we should at least get 3 points out of them, if not maybe 4 in
Hmm.
total over the season. So we've had a couple of good, results at Molineux over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah.
We had that smash and grab win under Gary O'Neill that, I think it was Tavernier, if I remember rightly.
Yes. Yep.
And that was a really important 3 points that season. And, again, last season up there, we managed to get the result. So, bitterly disappointed that they beat us at home last season. to be quite honest. But obviously, it was early days for Iriola and, his philosophy and, the new teammates gelling together. So, when you look back on it now, obviously it wasn't an issue really. But, I hope this year that we can, go undefeated against these guys, to be honest.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. Now let's have a look at our festive fixtures, and it is the season to be jolly. So these are our festive fixtures. Of course, at Dean Court, West Ham United, 14th of December, 3 o'clock kickoff. Old Trafford with face Manchester United, 21st of December, 3 o'clock kickoff. Of course, all these are subject to change. This one I was really disappointed with. We seem to, well, these next two, because we always seem to play both of them at a similar sort of time. We did last season as well. Crystal Palace coming to Dean Court on the 26th of December. Craven Cottage, we're going to face Fulham on the 29th of December. Again, we're not sure when those kickoffs are. Of course, they are going to be based around Amazon as well. And finally, Everton at Dean Court on the 4th of January at 3 o'clock. Of course, it was the other way round, wasn't it? It was Fulham at home, Palace away, wasn't it, last season?
Yes, I mean, it's not the first time we've had Palace in the Premier League on a Boxing Day either. So, yeah, it's obviously always a busy time of the year. And when you look there should be some points there. We should have a fairly decent festive period, hopefully. Palace, Boxing Day fixtures at home. I personally love them because it's my birthday and there's nothing to do on a Boxing Day normally apart from get drunk. So you can get drunk and have the football, which is good. So yeah, looking forward to that one. But again, we should be looking at points from that game, definitely. And same with going to Craven Cottage a few days later. And then back at home to Everton. So really amongst those fixtures there, we should be gaining points, definitely. It shouldn't be such a dire festive period, really.
Definitely. Premier League, do not change that fixture, the Crystal Palace fixture date. Otherwise, Matt is going to have to go Boxing Day shopping.
No, definitely not.
No.
It would be down the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
It would definitely not be shopping. I couldn't think of anything worse to do on a Boxing Day than go shopping.
Oh, mate, tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's painful, isn't it? Of course, we got Everton one last thing. We have got Everton very early on in the season. It is going to be our last trip to Goodison Park before they complete their Bramley Dock Stadium. Looks very, very impressive. Could be the most impressive stadium in the Championship at the rate they're going with the ownership issues that they've got. But, of course...
Didn't you say that last season?
I did say that last season. Everton fans have all been really nice to me as well, and I feel sorry because, but I just say it how I see it. I just, to be honest, actually, some of them even said to me off the back of that, they said, "Well, we understand. They are in a complete and utter mess, and the 777 group buyout doesn't look like it's happening. It's just a complete mess."
Well, I'm gonna tell you that you're wrong again, but we'll save that for the tier list later on in the summer. But
yes,
I'm going to tell you you're wrong again on that one, and I'm going to be right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I do owe Harry and San a bottle of red wine as well. I need to make sure I get that for them. Here we go.
They don't want no Tesco stuff, mate. They want proper stuff.
No, not an Audi Classic.
Definitely not. You're going to be putting your hand in your pocket for that one.
Marks and Sparks,
Is that the best you can do?
Oh, he's raising me. He's raising me.
I'm not raising you. It'd be Harry that'd be raising you. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, I'll hand it to him. He'll say, "I've batted that shit." But I tell you what, let's get to it. So here we have it, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I am just going to take away the background as well because there we go. Oh, I did forget something actually.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Thought that.
We did. The end of season running. There we are. It's live. If it wasn't live, but here we go. So Emirates Stadium, we're going to Arsenal again towards the end. 3rd of May, 3 p.m. kickoff. Aston Villa at home at Dean Court, 10th of May, 3 p.m. Manchester City, 18th of May at the Etihad. And then finishing with Leicester on the 25th of May for a 4 o'clock kickoff. Of course, all games finish at that time.
Difficult running.
Horrible running. Horrid running.
No matter what you're playing for,
Mm.
if you're fighting to stay up, which I don't think we will be, but if we do have something to play for in these last 4 or 5 games or so, it's going to be a bit of a tricky one, I think. You expect that Arsenal and City may be competing for the title, depending, obviously, if it's similar to last season, then they obviously will be. Villa, you would expect them to be in and around the top 6. And then Leicester could be fighting for their lives. So
it's horrible running.
It could be very, very tricky, that one. Very tricky. And, last season, the last 3 games, we lost all 3. And the season before that, if I remember rightly. So we don't normally have a good end to the season anyway, do we? on the previous 2 seasons. So, it could be a horrible run in that.
But never mind. Never mind. We will be in the Europa League by that point. Don't fear. Well, I'll say that, It's tongue in cheek, tongue in cheek. So I tell you what we're going to do next. So we're going to predict this path to European glory, or Europe at least. And we're going to have a little look, and we're going to determine where these points are coming from. Look at that. Some new sexy made logos all ready for this season. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to think about this, but the Champions League qualification places, I know we're going a little bit over the top here. Aston Villa finished in 4th with 68 points last season. So 68 points, if we base it off that, could get you Champions League. Spurs finished in Europa League place. Of course, because Manchester United, it would have gone to Chelsea, down to Chelsea, but of course Manchester United won the FA Cup. That would be typically what happens to us. They will be in the Europa League. They got 66 points and Chelsea got 63. So the target is 63. But Matt, we're not thinking about these points. And what I'm going to do as well is, because everybody wants to see our faces. There we go. So we're going to do it in fixture order. So we've got Nottingham Forest on Saturday the 17th of August. Are we going to get Sweet FA, 1 point, so a defeat and a draw, 2 points, 2 draws, 3 points, a win and a defeat, 4 points, a win and a draw, or maximum points from Nottingham Forest?
Maximum points.
I personally think Nottingham Forest are going to be weaker. I'll make a statement now. I think they're going to be in a real relegation battle this season, because I think the 3 that have come up are going to be stronger than the 3 that went down last season. Newcastle next up. Of course, Eddie Howe's Newcastle. How many points do you think we're going to get from them?
Is this all on me, is it?
No, it's not all on you. I'm going to give my predictions as well, and we'll meet in the middle somewhere or something.
I would say 3 points.
3 points. I think, do you know what? I fancy us to get a draw up there. I think we'll mirror what we did last season.
Okay.
So which one are we going for? 3 or 4? Could you see us getting a point at St James's Park?
difficult place, isn't it? St James's Park. I mean, we've had results up there in the past, and then in the past, we have been beaten as well. I mean,
it's about time Eddie gets a result against us. Shall I put my realistic hat on and shall we go for the 3?
let's go for 3 points. Let's go.
Yeah, let's play it safe. Let's play it safe. Right, cool. Everton are the next up. Everton, the Toffees. Of course, we go into Goodison Park. That is going to be very, very, very interesting because it's going to be the last time there.
3 points.
I was thinking that completely. I think we will get beat at Goodison Park. Hand on heart, I think we'll beat Newcastle at home. I think Everton will be our first defeat. I think they're going to make Goodison a fortress this season. And yeah, I'm going to agree with that completely, hands down. Chelsea. Now, what are we expecting from Chelsea this season? Does anybody know? Anybody know in the comments? What are we actually meant to be expecting from them? But Matt, what do you expect from them?
Yeah, obviously, this manager coming in. I think they're going to... is he going to see the season out? I mean, they've given him, what, a 5-year deal, is it? And he's done well at Leicester, but I mean, he struggled second half of the season, didn't he, with Leicester? So,
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when we was promoted under Scott Parker, where we started off the season so well, 37 points from the first 15 games, and then we just collapsed. We just started to collapse, and it was like dragging our heels over the line. And that's what Leicester did, probably from a better position than we were in.
Oh, yes. Yeah, massively.
I don't think that this manager's that much cop. And I'm pretty sure that Chris from Leicester Till I Die will agree with me on that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you can tell me what you think. I'm going to go that we'll get 3 points off Chelsea. The main reason being is we're going to be playing them at home. I think it would be a different manager when we play them in January.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Yeah, okay.
So there we are. We've got a win against Chelsea in there. There we are. Optimistic. So,
I've done it before.
Liverpool. Again, another team with a new manager. Arne Slot is there now instead of Jurgen Klopp. They're still going on about Jurgen Klopp, though, so you might as well think that he's still there.
Yeah. Difficult one, isn't it?
Do you want me to say what I think?
Yeah, go on then. I know. Go on. Yeah.
I think we'll get 2 points from Liverpool. So 2 draws. I don't think Arne Slot is going to find it that easy. It's a bit like when Ferguson left Manchester United. He left Manchester United for a reason because he could see that they were tailing off. That is my honest opinion about what happened at Man United. I think Jurgen Klopp has done exactly the same.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
The squad was aging there, and Fergie knew he was too old to, rebuild and jump ship at the right time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Similar to Liverpool, obviously there's some, that are aging, but they've still got a very good squad. They've obviously got an excellent recruitment department now, and that's without them pinching, Richard Hughes. Even without Richard Hughes, they've still got an excellent recruitment department, because obviously some of the other older guys that have done some really great deals over the years have gone back to Liverpool. So I don't know if I agree with you on 1 point. 2 points.
2 points. What are you going to go for?
I think I'm toying more with 1 point and Sweet FA, to be honest with you, on that one.
Should we meet in the middle?
Yeah, let's meet in the middle then. Let's go for a point.
There we are. We are playing realistic here. Southampton. Maximum
4
points.
points.
4 points. 4 points. Win at home or draw? Win away?
Win at home, I would say. Obviously, we've done it before, but I think if you're being realistic over the season, I think 4 points off Saints is a good. Obviously, we'd love maximum points, but I think 4 points off Saints is probably sensible.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So 4 points off Southampton. Leicester City. This is another interesting one. Of course, Steve Cooper there now. Were excellent in the championship for large parts. Really struggled across the line at the end. But Leicester, um, are they going to be the cannon fodder that the media make out? My honest opinion, no. But I think they're really going to struggle because Richard Masters is going to get his way and give them a points deduction.
I mean, if you look at the points deduction, obviously it's going to have an effect on the team. Obviously, Bournemouth know all about points deductions from our days back in League Two.
Yeah.
It depends on obviously how their squad reacts to it and how the manager, Steve Cooper, gets them ramped up for it. So it's a bit difficult, isn't it? But if you look at it on paper, promoted side, am I going to say maximum points with them? I'm going to say no.
No, I
On
agree with
maximum
you on that.
points. Should you really be looking at 4 points? Difficult place to go to, the King Power. I mean, we've had a couple of draws and that over the years, and
Got good record against them at home though.
excellent record at home. So that's where I'm kind of leaning more towards 3 points, I think.
3 points. I think they'll have, and they will put up a big battle to stay up. But yeah, I got to agree with you on that. Do I think they'll go down? Probably, but only because of the points deduction, and that I think will, in turn, create a massive legal case. But I'll tell you one team that probably is going to be looking at the other end of the table is the team following that game, Arsenal. Was unlucky in the end. It was only that blip against Crystal Palace that really threw them. To be honest, Crystal Palace did very well, but Arsenal, can we beat the Gunners?
I still think that they're going to be up there challenging next season.
Honestly, I'll tell you
No.
what I think. I think this is going to be my first Sweet FA.
Yeah, I think it is Sweet FA for me.
Sweet FA.
You'd like to think that we'd improve season on season, but teams like Arsenal and City, they're going to be difficult again to get points off. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you on that. Next up, Aston Villa. Richie Neville's Aston Villa, or I should say Unai Emery's Aston Villa, but what do you
Do you
reckon?
know what? Again, I think they're going to be difficult. Obviously, Champions League football for them this year. And obviously, they coped well last year with having Europe and the Premier League, obviously broke into the top 4. This one for me is, I think, a maximum 1 point.
To be honest with you, I think this might be when the Champions League is hitting its point when we play them. I had a little look at this, and I actually think we might get something in this game against them, and it is primarily because of that sole reason. But it will be at Villa Park, that game. So, are we going to beat them at Villa Park, or are we
It's
going to
great.
get
It's
a
great
point?
when you go to Villa Park and get a win. And
Oh yeah,
you
oh
know,
yeah. Don't get me wrong,
it's one
but
of my favourite stadiums to go to because I think it's a beautiful looking stadium from the outside. But
I'm going to say a point. I agree
I'll
with you.
just say, yeah. I mean, for me, if we get a point off them, I think that's obviously a good run. They're going to be strong again next season. Obviously, injury depending.
Yeah.
And but I think with the way they coped with, Thursday night football and Sunday football this season, and to do what they've done, they're going to be difficult again next season, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a draw away, but they will beat us at home because do remember they've got us at home in their running, and who knows, they might be going for another Champions League spot at that point. So yeah, I think 1 point makes sense. Manchester City, where do we start with this?
Well, I mean, it's like the longest run ever of not taking any points off City, isn't it? So
Yeah,
again, I can't. I'd love to, because it's, and one day we've got to do it. We've got to take points off them at some point. 3 points off them at some point. Thinking, but it's Pep's last season, isn't it?
yeah.
Apparently. So if you look at it from that perspective,
They want to do the treble again, won't they?
he's gonna want to win everything again, isn't he?
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's gonna be sweet FA, I think, on that one.
Sweet FA, sweet FA. There is a
But there's got to
resemblance.
be a time. I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
Yeah.
Got to take
Fingers
3
crossed.
points off them at some point, and we.
You never know. Of course, European football might be on, might be a difficult game they've come off the back of, and we could catch them at the right time. Brentford, of course, Richard Archer and Adam Devlin's Brentford, and your favourite manager in the whole of the Premier League. He's on BBC at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
Happy to
That's
watch.
why I'm kind of glad I'm on air and not watching BBC at the minute.
You just turn it off or mute him when he's on.
Yeah.
He does look like Ed Tudor Pole from the bloody Crystal Maze, don't he?
Oh god, yeah, that's going back some, isn't it?
Yeah.
Difficult side. I mean, even if they lose Tony, I mean, still a difficult side. There's a few players of theirs linked away as well. So if any of them go, how do they replace them? So to be fair, the away game last season we should have won.
Yeah.
We definitely should have won that one. The home game this season was frustrating.
Yep.
So to only take 1 point off them last season,
It's poor.
Really, that's a side that we should really be competing with and taking some points off. So I'm going to go 3 points.
Oh, this is where, yeah. Do you know what? I thought this was coming. This is where it's a massive disagreement from me on this. I tell you what, we'll get from Brentford next season. We're going to get maximum points, and the reason being is they're going to lose a lot of players. Tony's going to go. Whisper's going to go. I personally don't think that they're going to be. To be honest, they didn't have a good season last season, despite what they did against us. I think they are going to struggle, and that's why I think we might get maximum points off Brentford. Have I convinced you otherwise, Matt,
No,
or are you
absolutely
going to
not.
go for a 4-pointer?
No, you haven't convinced me.
What about 4 points?
I'll meet in the middle with 4 points, but
4 points. There we
I'll
go.
meet in the middle with 4 points. I mean, I would say that's a fair. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I might as well not put 2 points on here. Well, there might be one team that goes in there, but we shall see. We shall see. Brighton and Hove Albion. Very, very good against them towards the end of the season, but then again, they weren't too great themselves. At the Amex, it just doesn't seem to be happening for us, really. What do you reckon?
I think 3 points.
Yeah, I think fair point. I think I don't think they're going to be the same. I don't think they're going to be the same this year, but I think we should get a decent return off them. So defeat of the Amex, for some reason we can't seem to win there, but I think a win at Dean Court. So let's stick them in the 3 points. There we go. Wolverhampton Wanderers. This is an interesting one.
We can beat them away. We've done that convincingly. Well, I say
Yeah.
convincingly. We've done it twice in the last couple of years, haven't we? So, like we spoke about briefly earlier.
They need to make signings in my eyes.
I would like to think this one really, because I think they're going to struggle next year. I said that last season, but I never expected Gary O'Neill to go in there and do what he did. But maximum points, I think, for me.
I was going that way. Maximum points from Wolverhampton Wanderers. So in they go. In they go. So next up, Tottenham Hotspur.
Difficult one.
It depends. They're the most inconsistent side in the Premier League. Is this our first 2-pointer? We beat them at White Hart Lane. I still call it White Hart Lane, even though it isn't.
It's definitely not right. It's definitely not White Hart Lane.
No,
when
it's
you
not.
know when you know the old one in comparison to the new one, it's definitely not. But 2 points. Yeah, I mean, I'm still not overly convinced that Ange is the right man for their job. So yeah, I mean, 2 points, okay, yeah.
2 points. There we are.
Yeah.
Spurs.
Could I see us getting, 4 points off them?
It's possible. To be honest, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think he started out quite well, but I don't think he was very adaptable towards the end. So, yeah, I think Spurs 2 points makes sense. Next up, the new boys, Ipswich Town. What do we reckon?
For me, I think they're different to obviously Luton. They've been in the Premier League before. They've got a very successful history. And they've got a very, very good manager.
Yeah.
Very good manager. So for me, I'm going to go with. I really rate the manager. Really rate him, and I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to keep him up, and then I think he's going to move on to a better job, bigger job. I think they've just given him some crazy 5-year contract, haven't they? So they've tied him right in, haven't they?
I'll add to this as well. The last team I believe that did this was Southampton when they were promoted from League One into the Championship, then from the Championship into the Premier League. And I think it was around 10 years ago. It was about 2013, wasn't it? If I'm right in thinking.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it was about 10 years ago. I think we'll beat them at Dean Court, but Portman Road is going to be their fortress.
Yeah, I mean we've had some good Championship battles up there, but I think that 3 points for me. I think for Ipswich, I'd like to say 4, but I think I rate the manager. I think, like you say, he's going to make their home ground a fortress. And, their home games are going to be vitally important for them staying in the league.
Yeah.
Could I see us nicking a draw up there or even a win? I mean, this is a funny one for me. But I think the safe bet is probably 3 points.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, West Ham United. This is going to be a funny one as well. No David Moyes anymore.
Yeah. There's been games that we've played and, we've picked up 1 point against them and, you've looked at the game and you thought, we should have won that.
Julian Lopetegui is now their manager, which is an interesting.
Yes, he is. And a lot of West Ham fans that I know have kind of described him as the Spanish Moyes. So whether the football's going to be any different to what they are expecting, I don't know. But in terms of us, I'm going to go with.
I reckon this might be 4.
Yeah, I'm aiming towards 4 on this one.
4 points from West Ham United. I think that's realistic. You know, I don't think they're. Do you know what? The West Ham fans are going to possibly be kicking themselves when I think they realise that it's not always rosy under Moyes. Moyes is a little bit like Gary O'Neill did with us. It was effective football. It wasn't pretty football, but it got the job done. I think Lopetegui is going to change things, but you know, how much is he going to be supported in doing that? I think he's going to have to work with a lot of Moyes players who aren't going to fit his philosophy. And of course, he is a Basque manager, as we've spoken about before. I think that he may have to work with players that don't really fit that philosophy at first. I think they'll still be all right, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher than they actually think. So there we are. That's West Ham. Next up, Manchester United should have got 6 points against them last season, shouldn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Rot.
So it's a funny one with United, isn't it? Because obviously they've got this transition period they're going through with obviously Tim Radcliffe taking over the football operations side of it. They're investing obviously in Ten Hag. They're keeping him. This one for me might be a bit difficult next season, depending on who they bring in. I can't see United accepting finishing where they finished in the league this year again.
Agree.
So if they get off to a bad start, will they pull the trigger on Ten Hag then?
Yeah, I think they will. I think he's gone next season at some point.
I can't see us taking 4 points off him again.
No. I think we could beat them, though.
But we should have taken 6 points off him last year.
Could we be the ones to deliver Ten Hag's bullet? Not literally, but but in December, could we be the ones to effectively get him the sack? It's a big question, this.
John, and what's your trailer for on this one?
I think we'll beat them. I think we'll beat them once. I'm toying whether or not that's at Dean Court or if that's at Old Trafford. They won't settle for what happened last season, but I would not be surprised for us to go there and do that again, because if we set out the way we did, and Manchester United set out the way they did in both games last season, 99% of the time we would beat them, because I just think that they were terrible. They shouldn't. They should never. Of course, we had a penalty that went against us. Should have had a penalty ourselves right at the end. I think 3 points.
Okay, I'll go with you on that one then.
3 points it is. 3 points it is. Cool, this is an hard one. This is Crystal Palace.
Yeah, see, I think they're going to be a difficult side next year.
I really rate Glasner.
And he's done a cracking job with what he inherited. Again, it goes to who they add to the squad, who they keep. Obviously, like as we saw against Serbia the other day, Gay is a great defender.
Quality.
He's a quality player. So
You
Eze.
look at their squad.
I mean,
Eze, Elise,
Elise.
Gay,
I mean, Elise and Eze are both linked to clubs.
the
If
keepers.
they have money coming that they can't turn down, possibly for them,
Mhm.
and they lose those two, that's going to be a massive impact on them.
Adam
Massive.
Wharton.
Great player.
Yeah.
Great player. I mean, didn't know a lot about him, but since he's been selected in the England squad and some of the footage I've seen of him playing for Blackburn,
Mm.
to be honest with you, when we played him, I played Palace. I didn't really notice him, to be honest with you.
No.
But yeah, another good player. So yeah, it all kind of depends really on what
I'm
they
gonna put my neck on the line here and say that this is gonna be a complete contrast from last season, and I'm gonna say 1 point.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Um,
This is a horrible fixture, and I
I
think
think if they've
Palace
got,
is
I mean,
likely.
obviously we've got a Boxing Day fixture against them at home.
Mhm.
I would like to think, on a Boxing Day that we would get something out of it. Going to Selhurst Park, I mean, if they're on a good run, it's
Mhm.
going to be very, very difficult. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree on 1 point. I'd be disappointed with 1 point, to be honest, but I wouldn't disagree with that.
I think, hand on heart, I think they'll probably come in the Boxing Day fixture, which will be better than the New Year's Eve fixture a couple of years back,
I
where
think I
we was.
remember the first year we were in the Premier League. I think, if I
Mhm.
remember rightly, we played them on a Boxing Day, and
Yeah,
it was a dire 0-0 from what I can remember.
yeah,
So
they're-
I wouldn't disagree on 1 point. Wouldn't
yeah.
disagree, but I would like to think there's at least 3 points there.
And last but not least, this is the last game of 2024, I believe, and that is Fulham. Sunday the 29th it is.
Fulham, funny season last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's got to be 3 points in that one. I think.
Is there 6 points though?
How are you going to convince me there's 6 points?
Well, I'm not good. I don't think. They're a very funny side. They did. They kind of went missing at times, didn't they? And then appeared really strong.
Could they be a side that struggles next season?
Mm, I think
I
there's
think they've
three
got
teams.
enough in the tank to stay up, haven't they?
Yeah,
3 points for me.
yeah, I think so. I think
3
so.
points for me.
Go to Craven Cottage. I think that's going to
Difficult
be.
place. I mean, we've had results there in the past, but
Mhm.
I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe we'd get 4 points out of it, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too cautious. I mean, it's a difficult time to, I mean, it's a good exercise this, but I mean, it's a difficult time to do this. It's good practice though.
yeah,
It's good to do.
it
But I mean,
is.
how many points does that give?
How did you know that I was actually tallying it all up, Matt? Did you
Because I
see
mean,
my little pen, moving about and
oh, you're doing it, are you? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I've been working it out, and I'm going to ask you, where do you think, looking at that would put us, and do you think that's enough for Europe based on last season?
Ninth.
Ninth, is that your final answer? It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, this, isn't it? Matt's
I'll
doing
go
it
with
in
ninth.
his.
I'll go with ninth. You're going to say anyway, but I mean, I just glancing at it, ninth.
Yeah. It is ninth. It is ninth.
Is it?
And yeah, it is ninth.
I haven't
Your
even
brother,
worked it out. I swear
your
to God, I
brother
haven't
is an
worked it.
accountant. Your brother is an accountant. Me, if I looked at that, I'd get it completely and utterly
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Because
My
I
brother
haven't got
might
a
be an
bloody clue.
accountant, but if you see my GCSE maths grade, you wouldn't think I was an accountant. But
Mate,
yeah.
you're much better than me at this.
So
But
is it ninth? Is it?
it is ninth. And we would finish on 53 points. So, to be honest, that's not far above, well, not many points more than what we finished on last season. It's 5 points, but it is progression. Will it be enough for European football? It really does depend on how English sides do in European competitions, I believe. So,
I mean, there's a lot of things depend on this. It's all right sitting here thinking, who will we get points from and
mhm,
things like that. But it all depends on obviously who you're playing at what time. Obviously, injuries. How many games they're playing. Like with Europe and things like that. Is that having an impact? So, it's it'd be interesting to see at the end of the season if we go back to this and see where we got the points from.
yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And I think so. There is our where we think the points are going to be attributed to. We're not potentially going to get into Europe unless we go on a cup run. That'd be quite nice to go on a cup run, but that is
See,
what.
for me personally, I mean, I'd love to get into Europe, and I think that's obviously where we're going to end up.
Mhm.
I think we will. Oh, look at this.
Oh, look at that! That was a bit funky for a
That was a
second,
bit.
wasn't
That was a bit
it?
of a gremlin in the system.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Foley's ambition is Europe, and he's delivered so far, so I can't see why he won't deliver on Europe. But wouldn't it be lovely to have a bit of silverware?
Yeah. Most definitely.
And
Most
I think,
definitely.
for me, I'd much rather, if we finish ninth, if we finish ninth next season and we win the Carabao Cup, for example,
Yeah.
or the Manchester City Cup as it used to be called,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be excellent?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Wouldn't that be
Definitely.
excellent? So, I mean, that would really give some real credibility, wouldn't it? If we won a bit of silverware.
Mhm.
But it's so difficult to win these cups, isn't it? I mean, with the squads that these teams in Europe have got, like Man United, well, not Man United, but Man City, Arsenal, and that they always seem to be able to, Liverpool, they
Mhm.
always seem to be able to get into these cup finals, even
Yeah.
though they're complaining about the fixture backlog and all that. But wouldn't it be lovely for us to, bring home a piece of silverware? I think that would be
It'd just be amazing,
beautiful.
wouldn't it? It would just, teams have done it in the past. Portsmouth did it, Wigan did it. It's possible, but I think it determines on the right combination of things happening. You're gonna have to
Well,
beat a
yeah.
big boy, but if say for example, we've got a decent record against Chelsea, in the past. We've got a decent record against Manchester United, should have beaten them twice last season. If Man United go and beat Man City, knock them out of the competition, Chelsea go and knock out Liverpool, and then we go and knock out that team, you never know. You never know. So I think it's the perfect storm. If it can happen, it'd be great. Um, I'm a little bit gutted, like last season, that we didn't get past Liverpool in that Carabao Cup game, because I think that would have offered us a great opportunity. And it was a horrible night, as you remember,
Mm,
really, really wet, really, really windy, and we could and did look like we had the beating of them at one point.
All I remember was is it Nunez scored that
Yes, that
goal, didn't
goal
he?
was it. Yeah,
And
outstanding.
his first touch was absolutely dire. And all I remember was turning to my old man and saying, that's a terrible touch. You know, he's taken this too far from goal, and then he goes and scores that. So I wish I kept my mouth shut now, to be honest. But yeah, that was a disappointing night. But you know, I think for me, next season, I mean, if we were to finish 9th and you know get to a cup final, you know, would again be progression.
Yeah, no, most definitely, mate, most definitely. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We have got 45 people watching us now. Please hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps the channel to grow. Look, it rhymes. You can find us on Spotify as well as on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. So you can find us in many, many different places. Matt, pleasure as always to have you with me. And no doubt we'll be doing something very, very soon, won't we?
Yeah, I believe that we'll be looking at the England-Denmark game.
Yes.
Next. And I believe there's also a player ratings
we have,
show that would be coming up as well shortly. And so yeah, a couple of things I believe that I'll be on with you for.
Most definitely. Like I say, the best way to be alerted to it all, hit the bell button on YouTube and it'll tell you whenever we're on. But from me and Matt, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next show. Up the Cherries.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.